Two of India's brightest young talents, Gukesh and Nihal Sarin, take on each other. Gukesh with white opens the game with knight to f3. Nihal goes d5, g3, g6 on the board. c4 played, hitting the center. Nihal pauses for a bit, takes the pawn on c4. Knight a3. I like how the knight is attacking c4. Bishop g7. Gukesh takes the pawn. Knight comes out. Bishop g2 and Nihal instantly plays e5. The pawn is defended by his knight and bishop. Gukesh thinking about what his next move should be. Plays d3 to stop e4, but Nihal goes e4 anyway. Regardless of it, queen takes, king takes. By the way, this is something that Gukesh has already played once before. I think it was against Manuel Petrosian. And Nihal has come well prepared. He goes knight f6, attacks the pawn and asks Gukesh, do you want to push your pawn? Because if you do, I'll go knight g4, hitting f2 and e5. This is how Gukesh had played last time. And so Gukesh taking his time, and this time he goes knight cd2. That is his improvement over his game against his past opponent. And that's why you can see Nihal Sarin also pausing a bit, trying to figure out what's the best way. But it's a beautiful pawn sacrifice by Nihal to close this bishop, also to keep the king in the center. And you will notice how Nihal builds up now. So first thing that he can do is he can castle and get his rook to d8. That's exactly what he does. He castles and white king is not feeling comfortable. Knight e1. Looks like a passive move, but Gukesh wants to go to d3, then pushes pawn to f4 and e5. So he's trying to solidify himself. Also d3 is an important square for the knight because it controls b4 and the black knight cannot reach on b4. So these are some of the concepts in the position. Now Nihal, how does he continue? One idea is to play rook d8, just get on the open file. And the other one is to look at knight g4. There's also a possibility of playing bishop e6. Not to forget that you can expand on the queen side with a5 so as to meet knight d3 with knight b4. Nihal goes rook d8. Very logical chess. He improves his rook, puts it opposite the king and tells Gukesh that your king is not safe. But in doing so, look at his time. He's down to 1 minute 50 seconds while Gukesh still has a solid 40-second lead on the clock. How does Gukesh continue here? A good idea can be knight c2. Also possible knight d3. But you know, there's always this a little bit of an irritating move, knight g4, or even the bishop can come out to g4. I think Gukesh, in order to stop it, plays h3. But it's not the best move here. It's slow. But one can understand that he wanted to prevent knight g4 business. And Nihal now thinking about what his next move should be, plays a beautiful move a5. This move is a multi-purpose move. As we said, knight b4 is prepared. Also a4, a3 would gain more space, weaken this diagonal. This pawn sacrifice is something to learn from, guys, because you can see how Nihal, in spite of being pawned down, has nothing to worry because of the various compensating factors that he has. A safer king, much better placed pieces, free-flowing pawn moves, and so on. Gukesh, meanwhile, trying to figure out what is the way in which he can create maximum trouble for Nihal Sarin. Well, he can put his knight on d3, that is possible, but then Nihal will go knight b4, exchanging and opening his a file. But Gukesh says, nothing doing, I'm going all out, I'll play e5. But Nihal says, knight h5, I'm attacking your pawn on g3, and it's very difficult to defend it because if you go g4, f4 is hanging. Has Gukesh just blundered the pawn? Very difficult to say from Gukesh's expression because he does not emote much. He plays bishop f3. Maybe that was his plan. You don't know. You can play a4 or even knight d4, but who can resist such a juicy pawn on g3? Nihal cannot. He chops it off. Rook g1 has to come back to h5. But now Gukesh takes it, spoils Nihal's structure. But in doing so, Nihal has recovered his pawn. He's still doing pretty well here. f5, I like this move. King f8 because f6 was threatened. Nihal comes out with his king. If Gukesh can manage knight d3, which he does, then knight f3, then bring out his bishop, he should be doing fine. But that takes some time. Meanwhile, Nihal can go b6 and bishop a6. Oh, he does it. He does it. He finds it. What brilliant play by Nihal this has been out of the opening. He has played this really well. And Gukesh is down to 53 seconds. Nihal has 1 minute 21 seconds. How does white continue now? Okay, one plan is knight f3 now. Just bring your knight to f3, plays it. Knight to f3 on the board. Bishop a6 played. And now bg5. Excellent move. Just hassling the rook here. f6 doesn't look right because then the bishop gets closed. You want to maybe move the rook, but that doesn't look great. Knight d4 is an option to sacrifice an exchange here. But what does Nihal do? He's also does not have too much time here. And I think Gukesh has been successful in complicating the position. Nihal Sarin completely focused. You can see there he's trying to make a decision. One thing that he mustn't do is play rook d6. Oh, and he does it. Well, the reason is bishop f4, rook d7, and now rook c1 or even e5. White is in the driver's seat all of a sudden because yes, bishop d3, pawn d3, rook d3 is hanging, but then just king e2 comes in. And white is doing completely fine. Will Gukesh spot rook e? Oh, he goes e5. That's a nice move. And all of a sudden, it's Gukesh who has a decisive edge in the position after Nihal has made some really inappropriate moves. Now, f6 is a major threat and Nihal has to deal with it. You never want to play your pawn to f6, but then sometimes it is a necessity and Nihal is not making that move happily. That is for sure. Gukesh has to just push his pawn. He does so. Rook d5, attacking the pawn on f5. Rook c1 played. Knight is hanging. Bishop b5. And now knight h4. Defending the pawn should be a good idea here. And white has a very, very pleasant position. But Gukesh is so low on time. He has 10 seconds left. He goes bishop d2. That is not a good idea because he has sort of blundered this pawn. Rook takes f5. Maybe he did not notice it. Maybe he has some other plans in mind. No, he takes. Oh, that was his plan. Knight d4 with a double attack on the rook and the bishop. But now bishop e4 is possible to defend the rook. No, he goes bishop a4 check, b3, rook d5. Now the knight is hanging. Bishop c3, c5 is winning for black. But Nihal has also just 15 seconds left. What does he do? c5, bishop e8, both look great. His bishop is hanging. He saved. If he saves it, he's an exchange up. He saves it. Knight f4 and now rook d6. That should be winning. But rook e5, blunder. That's a big mistake because now e7 is coming in and he finds it. What a move. e7, if rook e7, there's knight d6. So he goes king f7 and now Gukesh with 4 seconds plays knight d6. The rook is hanging. Rook takes e6 has to be played, but he plays here bishop h6. Again a mistake. The rook is taken. Fe. Gukesh has only 3 seconds left. He has to make a move. Oh, he loses on time. In a position that is completely winning. Gukesh loses on time. Nihal is shocked. He cannot believe it. Gukesh is shocked. He just cannot believe that in a better position he has lost on time because king takes e6 is met with knight c7 check. And you can see how these two guys are friends of each other and really like to play good chess because in spite of the win, Nihal is not happy and Gukesh of course is completely shocked that he lost on time.